imitation, there ain't no hesitation. Come out scraping, Kali style training. Knife to the neck of those who ain't thinking. We trained in the fields of battle, gladiating. When conflict arises, who we facing? Hit them hard, point pressure, bones breaking. This oration keeps my flesh sacred and master the...
or something gathering around, and they would just go in and proceed to get everybody that they could. But as they're getting cut, you know, as they're cutting people down, they're getting shot with a 38, because that was the handgun of the time. But it wouldn't knock them over, and they would just keep going. And of course, they're not bleeding as much as they could, and their red shirt, so it doesn't show that they're bleeding, would just go until they couldn't go anymore. And that would be their, like, gift to Allah or something. And lore has it, I'm not 100% sure, but the 45 was invented to knock them over.
Exactly.
The timing is exactly right. 1911. Sure sounds.
It sounds very plausible.
Very plausible.
Absolutely.
That gun was definitely developed for that purpose, to knock somebody over. But so, you know, the art is very still practiced very heavily in the South. It's a very bladed culture. A lot of the North, they use spears, like the Igorites. They always see that shield and a spear. But the blade people are like the Visayans, Cebu, well, just the Visayans, but Negros Occidental, Cebu, and it's a work. It's a work item. Cutting down fields. You have an argument with somebody, you settle it as a duel. In America, we back in the day, we might have a sword fight back in the day, or boxing. You might settle it with somebody. Back then, you might settle it with this. So, this is what you're working out in the field with. This is what they would use, or a knife. And supposedly when the Americans came and occupied, they outlawed the dueling. So they taught them boxing, supposedly, or changed their boxing and put the boxing gloves on. And that's how they settled disputes. That's kind of sort of the lore. Yeah. Questions?
I actually, at that same time, is that how the Marines got the leather neck thing?
That's a popular myth that goes through it, but the leather collar was actually in place long before we arrived in the Philippines.
Long before?
Yeah, it was ship-to-ship dueling, I mean, with cutlasses and things like that. It had been in place. It may have found a resurgence when Marines were stationed in the Philippines, but it existed before then.
So you could imagine, like, around the 1776, going on board another ship, you're climbing up. What a perfect time to strike.
Cut it off.
There.
The hard leather collar.
Yeah. Although some of the best pirates are from the south of the Philippines.
Yep.
Just give a little quick demo. These are not real blades. So, one of the main things about the Filipino arts that attracted me was there's no defending in Filipino martial arts. If he strikes and I defend, and just does a static thing, he will redirect, finish, you know. Or if I go here and he blocks, I just continue through, or redirect. So he's got a flow with me. So everything is a counter offense. So if I strike here, he attacks my blade or attacks my hand. It's called defanging the snake. We've all heard that one, right? So if you take away their teeth, essentially, they can't bite you anymore, right? With another thing about the Filipino arts is that it deals with bladed blades, and the technology, we call it, is like there were knights. This is like, these are all my personal opinions. There were knights and they had swords, and English people had swords. They don't really play with swords anymore. In the Philippines, I can tell you personally, they still play with blades. And the technology there's a reliance on gunpowder in the world that other cultures have left the blade, where the Philippines still have maintained the blade and actually even brought it back to where in in the South, the reconnaissance Marines, the recon Marines of the Philippines are issued, every one of them is issued a blade very similar to this, which this is a trainer and it's humid, so it's swelled, a gununting or a talabong. See, it's a little more tactical, it doesn't shine, but it's basically this. A gununting is half scissors, like a Spanish gununting.
Gunting.
It's half the scissors.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of times in the brush in the Philippines, it's too thick, and their buddies are walking a patrol. I can't go shoot everything that I see because it might be my buddy. So they keep a gununting on them for incidents of close quarters. So that gets real. And so the technology is being taught again. So it has real world applications. That's why we love the art. Another reason is, do you know what the #1 weapon of perpetrating a crime in Virginia was 2 years ago? It was a $3 machete. That's an FBI statistic. So if you think that I'm just going to pull my gun and the gun's going to take care of everything, it's not always the case. So the technology that is called a screama or kali or arnis, there's all kinds of debates on what name it's supposed to be called, but those are some of the names of the art. And we think it's really, really cool. So